You are listening to Recovery Queen Melissa Presents Tales from the Trap. I am your host, Melissa McMillan. I am a recovering addict, a human trafficking survivor, and yes, a human trafficking convict. I spent 20 years in active addiction, experiencing things most couldn't imagine. This podcast is where we tell the truth about the streets, about the system, about survival, recovery, trauma, and the people who never made it out. These stories are raw, real, and sometimes they're hard to hear, but you know what? They matter. This is Tales from the Trap. Okay, so I just posted a video, episode of Tales from the Trap, and somebody asked, I told the story about how my baby dad, because he would get really bad psychosis, and I told the story about how he barricaded himself in the lady underneath us apartment. So it was like an old lady. It was a little old lady who had like literally just moved into the building not long before this, like at all. And it was coming to the end of our run in that apartment. Our poor neighbors, man. But anyways, he broke into her house, pushed his way into her house. He was terrified. He was convinced I was going to try to kill him, or I was plotting to kill him. And we were high as balls. I remember the cops coming in, being on our balcony, and I could see them, but I was like, because I had just used and I was shaking, and it was July, August. So I was naked because it was hot as fuck in this trap with no hydro. We had no hydro. The only light we had was the light on the fridge. For whatever reason, we had no hydro. Yeah. So I don't know how he got out or what happened. He took off. He was terrified of me, and he took off, and he ended up kicking the lady's door in, or like pushing his way through, and ran into her bathroom and barricaded himself in the bathroom. And the cops came, took him to the psych ward. The next morning, he came back. And not long after he came back, we went and came back. It was pouring rain. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And the landlord was at our door. And I remember he pushed the couch up against the door, and I was like sitting on it trying to like hold the door shut, and it was the landlord and some guy, and he was like, there was stuff everywhere, like everywhere. The place was trashed. And he was like, listen, Mel, I'll give you first and last right now if you leave. So he had jumped out he had this thing about jumping out the window, but we were on like the third floor. So the first time he did it, he broke all his ribs. I remember being in the neighbor's house underneath us because he would get crazy, and I would go to my friend Kayla's, and she was a neighbor we had met underneath us, and she was the sweetest girl. I'm still friends with her till this day. She did a lot for me. Let me just say that. So I would go and like run and seek refuge in her apartment. And, yeah, I remember her boyfriend was at the back of the house, and me and Kayla are in the living room, and her boyfriend screams, oh my God, that crazy newfie just jumped out the fucking window. Anyway, so this time when he jumped out, he ended up breaking all his ribs and ended up in detox. We met up again at our plugs, but he was acting crazy. He was literally acting insane and like talking to people that weren't there. And I had enough. It had been days of this at this point, and I had enough. I had all that money that the landlord gave me. And I ran into my dear friend, Tanya Martel, who just passed away. She was involved in a car accident. She was struck, and it was all over the news. And anyways, yeah, I ran into Tanya, and we ended up going to get a hotel, and 3 days had went by. That was the night that I got attacked on the stroll. I tell the story about how my girlfriend left me to go with this guy that I hated. He rolled up to the stroll. We were just trying to make $80 for another room. It was like the third or fourth night we had been together. And we were just trying, because all the money was gone. I had like $1,700 on the Friday, and by the Sunday it was gone. So we were just trying to make a little bit of money to get another hotel, because now I have no place and I've got a suitcase of shit. Oh no, I left the suitcase at the Plugs. She let me keep my suitcase there. So yeah, we went onto the stroll, and she took off with Laro, and I was pissed because I hate him. And yeah, I ended up, those two guys picked me up, and whatever happened. And then the very next day, I went to this like John's house, okay, who used to always like kind of take care of me, and I showed up at his door crying, like, I don't know where my baby dad is, like I just got evicted. Oh my God. Every time my uncle calls, he's going to call 35 more times. Oh my God. Okay. So, yeah, I showed up at this guy's house, and I was like, I have nowhere to go. Can you help me get me into the shelter? So the next morning, he brought me to the Ginevra house, which is the domestic violence shelter. And they were full. So he had to bring me to a different shelter, and I got in there. And then the next morning, I ended up running into my baby dad at the methadone clinic. So we reconnected again and went on another terror. But yeah, he had barricaded himself in the neighbor's apartment, the little old lady, and that was enough for the landlord to be like, okay, Mel, now you're affecting everybody. And like, it was just a bad scene. It was all the way around. That I was surprised we kept the place as long as we did. I had met a bunch of people in the psych ward and let them like live there. It was a whole thing. So anyways, I just wanted to tell that little story because you had asked about it. So hello. So I have a whole bunch of questions that I wanted to get through because they're really, really good. And they're kind of focused on family, and what my family could have done differently, or, so I thought I would go through them with you guys. So the first one is, if your family had understood addiction earlier, what conversations do you wish they would have had with you? So here's the thing. When you have teenagers, like right now, I have teenagers, I have preteens. There is a fentanyl epidemic going on in my community. It's all over the news. My kids even know about it. Why wouldn't I speak to them about it? My kids, both sides, both parents, uncles, all of it, ravished by addiction. Why wouldn't I talk to them about it? Why wouldn't I prepare them for that? That's the part that I think, and like, I answer these questions to help others, not to dog on my own parents, because my parents are amazing. There's no handbook on what to do when your child becomes an opiate addict at 17, and I'm not trying to dog on them, but in order to help other people kind of see their own behavior, or look at their own behavior, I have to talk about this. So in the early 2000s, when there was this OxyContin epidemic going on in my community, and pharmacists were getting robbed, and it was just a whole thing. Methadone clinics were popping up on every corner, and you have a teenager who is out there experimenting with drugs. Why wouldn't you talk to her about what OxyContin is? And I'll take it even a step further. When your family has addiction in it, when your child is predisposed to the addiction gene, why wouldn't you talk to them about it? Right? I'm not saying I would have made any different choices, but it would have been nice to know. So that's why we talk about addiction in my family, because with my girls, because my entire life has been affected by addiction. They have a lot more factors that will make them susceptible to addiction because of my history, because of their history as young children. The domestic violence piece, all of it, the adoption trauma, being apprehended, having to be seeing your parents at the Children's Aid Society, all of it leaves them vulnerable. So why wouldn't I talk to them about this? And I think that is the best thing you can do for your child, is talk to them. There are so many movies that you can sit down and watch with them. I like Dope Sick. I think Dope Sick is a great film to watch with children. You can fast forward the inappropriate parts, but it gives a glimpse into the window of how the fentanyl epidemic came to be, because the fentanyl epidemic is the fentanyl epidemic because of the OxyContin epidemic and Purdue Pharma. And my kids understand because, I sat down and watched it with them. And I allowed them to gain that understanding of, you can try it one time. I didn't even know what they were. I didn't even know what OxyContin was. I didn't know what an opiate was. I didn't know they were physically addictive. I only thought heroin was. Nobody talked to me about drugs. People screamed at us to not do them. There was "Don't do drugs, kids" campaigns, but there was no "Let's talk to our kids and explain the danger" campaign. That we just got yelled at and told, "Don't do drugs, kids. This is your brain on drugs, kids." There was no dialogue. And we know now in 2025, because we know better, we do better. We know now that the best thing you can do to help your children be the best, most productive members of society that they can be is educate them, right? Because knowledge is power. And when they go out into the world and they're armed with this knowledge, they can make choices based on that knowledge, right? So I preach to everybody, talk to your fucking children, bro. We are allowed to do that in 2025. Okay, we are allowed to talk to our kids about hard, not so fucking cool things. Because can you imagine, my kids know all my friends are dead, right? My kids grieve the loss of my friends who've died of drug overdoses because, some of them were like uncles to them. Can you imagine not telling them about that and what's going on? You need to talk to your children. You need to talk to your children about addiction, about how vulnerable they are, about their predispositions because of genetics. Also, harm reduction. You need to teach your children how to use Narcan. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Every child in 2025 should be going to school with Narcan, because I would rather my kids have Narcan, never have to use it, than watch their peer die. Period. What kind of support did you need back then that nobody in your family knew how to give? Well, acknowledgement of the problem. We were a pretend it doesn't exist and it'll go away kind of family. Nobody talked about nothing. We didn't talk about nothing. I think open dialogue with your kids and acknowledging that problems do exist and that they don't just go away when you ignore them. You can't pretend something isn't happening. We can't bury our head in the sand and pray to fuck it goes away. That doesn't work. And I think I was a child. Going into my early 20s. I was in an abusive relationship, and I take full accountability for the choices I made. Like, don't get me wrong. But there was no acknowledgement that maybe we got a problem here, Mel. Maybe, when I remember my mom, child protection showed up at my door. I was 21. I had just had Cadence. She was 5 days old. Child protection showed up at my door, and they were talking about how I had told them that I got off methadone in the midst of being pregnant with Cadence. And my mom was beside herself. She had no fucking clue. Like, she was like, "What do you mean methadone? Methadone for what?" Like, and like, it was like it was, they pretended like it wasn't fucking happening for a really, really, really long time. And they wouldn't acknowledge that there was a problem. And I was in active addiction. So it was never ask for help. It was hide it better. It was never admit something's wrong. It was hide it better. And everybody else around my family, like my aunts they all knew there was a fucking problem. There was a couple of us in our family, me and a couple of my cousins, we were all hooked on fucking oxys. And our parents just pretended like it didn't fucking exist until it got so bad when Cadence was 4 years old, when my mom actually had to take custody of her. That was the big, okay, now we've really got a fucking problem and we can't ignore it anymore because now children are involved. So we have to talk now. Right? But I think that was the only time when I was like 25, when Cadence had to go live with my mom, that my family started talking about what was wrong. You know? Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's a handbook on how to navigate it. I'm just saying you don't do yourself any justices by ignoring the fucking problem. My mom was very, I could just imagine how much she tortured my dad, because my mom is I need to talk through something until it goes away. And she wasn't like that with me growing up. She was both of my parents, we didn't talk about anything. We ignored the problem and enabled the problem. That's not good. Was there a moment where a different reaction from them could have changed your path even a little? It went right from being oblivious to being angry. There was no, and like I hate to dog. I really, really do, because they did the best they could with what they had. But I have one memory of going to see Cadence after my mom had taken her, and her dad and I were dope sick as fuck. And the only time I ever felt seen in that whole ordeal of opiate addiction, I was in my mom was rocking me, and I was in her arms, and I was begging for money and begging and begging and begging for money to get well. And she was just rocking me and rocking me and rocking me and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And even though those are hard moments, it was some kind of, I felt seen for a minute, you know? Because after that, it was there was no love, affection, no understanding, no empathy, no nothing. It was either you need to fucking not even tell us it's happening and hide and lie, and we don't even want to know it exists, or we want you gone. There's no in between. You can't be honest. If you're honest, you got to go. That's how it felt to me. Like, if I was to come out and say, okay, I'm struggling, I would lose them. I would lose my kids. I would lose my family support. I didn't feel at any point in time that I could be honest and ask for help. And it's crazy now, because we all came out the other side of it, you know? And I have nothing but love and support. And I know there are people, my Aunt Ramona included specifically, that I could have came out, but we didn't have a good relationship. Like, it was either just pretend it doesn't exist or go. You can't be here and admit you have a problem. You can't be here if you're going to tell us you're a drug addict. So I had to hide it, or I had to go. That's how it went. It was a lot easier to hide it and lie and pretend it wasn't happening, which is something I learned from them, than admit there was a problem and be scared of potential consequences. Long story short, talk to your fucking kids, bro. Talk to your fucking addict loved ones. Talk to them. Listen to them with a little bit of compassion and love and understanding. I know it's hard, bro. I get it. I deal with addicts every single day. I know it's not easy. When you know every word that comes out of their fucking mouth is a bullshit story and a fucking lie. I get it. Doesn't matter. You're not doing them any fucking justices by pretending it's not happening. Do you think your family mistook your pain for bad behavior instead of a cry for help? Yeah. There was no cry for help. My cry for help started at 14 and nobody was there. Nobody was there. They were gone. They were gone. And like in retrospect, they know what they did and by taking off. And like I've told this story, my parents bought a cottage when I was 14 and me and my brother were like, we're not going an hour out of town the whole fucking summer. We always camped with my older cousins and like that was the spot where we went and they weren't going there anymore. They had bought this other cottage and we were like, no, we didn't want to go. And we were good kids. So my parents were like, okay, well, you can stay home. Your grandparents are right next door. You can stay home. But you leave two teenagers who are already experimenting with drugs alone to their own left to their own devices. What do you think's gonna fucking happen? What do you think's gonna fucking happen? Right? So I think the cries for help, we were way beyond that before anybody even started to talk about me having a problem. We were way beyond that. We were a decade in before anybody went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Something going on here. You know, I had a child who was 4 by the time people were like, and I was already an IV drug user with hepatitis C for fuck's sakes. Like it was we were way beyond a cry for help. Like, let's be for real. What boundaries do you wish they had set earlier or differently when things started slipping? Well, not allowing me around my kids probably would have been a really fucking good idea, but I don't blame anybody. I'm very grateful to Angela, who didn't just allow my word to be enough for her, you know, to let me have my kid unsupervised. Like, because my mom let me around my kids all the time and I was getting high. All the time. My mom didn't have boundaries because she was exhausted. So she was like, yeah, you're back. You can come fucking take care of your fucking kids. And then, you know, I'd be using and there's so many things that they could have done differently, but that's why we do this. How could they have supported you without enabling you? Well, like I said, feeding money to a drug addict when you know she's a drug addict is not good. You can't pretend something is not going on and expect it to go away while also feeding money into it. You know? And this is all in retrospect looking back. I'm not blaming my parents, but my mom pretended for so long nothing was going on because I would look at her and lie and she believed me. Even though she didn't believe me. I know she didn't believe me, but she was just pretend. And that didn't help. I don't know. There was a lot of enabling. A lot of enabling. I always scroll up to the top. Okay. Do you think anyone in your family saw the red flags but didn't know how to step in? Yeah, my aunt did. My aunt has said this, that she saw so much from the outside. And she would say to my dad, like, you're just enabling her. And my dad would get mad. Like, we're not enabling. Yes, you were. Yeah, you were. You would bail me the fuck out. Like, but like, what do you do? There's children. Like, would you allow her to get her fucking hydro cut off? Do you allow her to get evicted? Do you, you know, like, but I don't know what the answers are. But I know enabling it and fueling the fire is not helpful in any way. Right? Right. Um, was there a moment you needed compassion, but you got anger instead? Yeah, at the end, when I had lost everything and I was on the streets and I was doing whatever the fuck I had to do to survive, I just got hate because they were mad and they were done. And, you know, I was just talking to a mother of an addict and she said, I've got so much fucking resentment towards her. I said, that's understandable, but you are in no way helping her by being angry. You make it worse. So either have compassion, empathy, and understanding, or leave her the fuck alone and don't be a support to her because you don't get both. And I know it's hard. Like, trust me, I know it's hard, but you have to make it. You have to make a choice. You are either going to be loving, compassionate, understanding, and treat her with kindness and humility, or you're going to fuck off because you're not helping by being mean or being angry or resentful. You know, and that's why I tell everybody, go get fucking therapy, man. Go get therapy. If you are a loved one of an addict and you're going through it, go get therapy. I think everybody should go get therapy. If you are raising children that aren't biologically yours and the biological parent is an addict, go get fucking therapy. Go get therapy if you want to be the best parent to that child. Because when you are the parent of, you are a guardian, we'll say, of a child whose parent is an addict, you have a lot of resentments towards that parent because you see, you know, the fallout of their decisions, of their addiction. If you don't get therapy for how you feel towards their biological parent, you will not be able to parent that child to your fullest capabilities. I will go a step further. You will harm that child. You will do far more harm than good. No matter your feelings or your resentments or your whatever the fucks, because there's a lot of emotions that go on when you are trying to protect a child from their addict parent. Even if the parent gets better, there's still a lot of fucked up, angry, resentments and shit. It is up to you to get better mentally, or you are not going to do anybody any good. Period. 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 Yeah. I'll go on to the next one. Was there a moment you needed accountability but got chaos instead? Yeah, like I had when my kids were taken in 2016. I was out. Everybody made me out to be the fucking the monster, the bad one, the one that made it all fall apart. It was crazy how nobody took accountability. Not my partner, not nobody took accountability. Everybody watched it all happen. And you can fucking lie to my face and tell me you didn't, but I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing that. And there was no accountability. That's why it was so easy for me to just get up and leave, because I was just like, yo, I didn't create this mess by myself. I didn't create this whole fucking thing alone. I've been screaming out for help for fucking months. What do you mean? Didn't I run over to your house in the middle of the fucking night begging for fucking help? Because of some fucked up shit was going on at my house? Like, what do you mean I'm the one that okay. And that's why it was very easy for me to just say, okay, I'm going to leave now. You all want to make it seem like I'm the bad guy and I'm no use to my children and I'm never going to get better. And I'm the one that created all these problems. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody. Pointing fingers when things fall apart does not help anybody. You need to that's when you rush in with love, support, empathy, compassion, understanding, and it's game time. Okay, we're going to figure out what we're going to do. You're going to go to rehab. We're going to take the kids. No, you're not fucking leaving. Like, we are going to talk and sit and talk this through until we figure it out. There was a lot of not wanting to deal with anything. When you have a lot of resentments because you've been lied to for so fucking long, it's very hard to have empathy when it all comes crashing down and all the things that you've been thinking are going on are actually going on, and you're going, okay, so you've been lying to me for a whole fucking 6 months. Okay, it's very hard to engage with compassion, but that's what you have to do, or you will push that your addict loved one out into the streets, and then it's jails, institutions, or death. Your best course of action is when the other shoe falls, because you're functioning until you're not functioning. And I know this happens for a lot of addicts, where you're doing good for a while and you're doing good for a couple of years and you've got this beautiful little family and this little life, and then things start to seep through, right? This is a story as old as time. I've seen this constantly. And then the family, who has had suspicions for months, who knew it was going on, they're like, oh, I knew it. Yes, the fuck you do. You did know. Why didn't you rush in with love and empathy and support plans and resources? That's what you need to do. Shame and resentments and all that shit does nothing but push the addict out into jails, institutions, and death. I have to tell you something, and I probably shouldn't even talk about it but regardless, I have the worst luck in the world. There's something called the Macmillan curse. It is a curse that is upon my family going back to the old country in Scotland. And me and my brother and my dad seem the most affected by this curse, like this generation. So everything goes wrong. You know what I mean? For us, that's what happens. Just stupid shit. But I still want to tell you a little bit. Yesterday, I got an email. I made a TikTok about it. I got a random email from a gentleman who says he remembers me from back in the day. And he says he may be able to help me to go back to school. Some program run by the government that I may qualify for. So I looked into this. It seems kind of promising. I could go back to school, I think, maybe, if it works out, which would change my entire life. As you guys know, I've been talking about the want to go back to school so I can get in the field of social work. That's my dream, is to go back to school. I've only been talking about that since I got sober. So it was cool to hear that there may be a possibility, possibly, maybe, fingers crossed, that I'll get accepted into this program. So, yeah, that was cool. But I got a bunch of questions here that are really like for kind of around family dynamics. And I think they're actually, what is this? Oh, those aren't them. Give me a moment. Here we go. What surprised you most about how your family reacted once you finally got sober? What surprised me most? How proud they were when they realized it was for real. Like my aunt, just I have a lot of really good people in my life who, since I've gotten sober, and as long as I stay sober and doing what I'm doing, I will always have their support and love, and like that is rare. That is rare, you know? Um it's like kind of bittersweet though, because I understanding how much love and support my aunt has shown me, and my parents as well. Um it's too bad I didn't feel like I could reach out for help, but I wasn't ready, right? Like you can't do coulda, woulda, shouldas. The dynamic was different back then, also. So, but yeah, that's probably the one that's most surprised me, is how amazing my family and how supportive and how just like I'm lucky. How do you explain your past to your children in an age appropriate way? Um, my kids watch my TikToks, which they shouldn't. They're little preteens now, so I think they get it as much as a little preteen can understand, right? Um, they're proud of me too, so I don't see anything wrong with them knowing that I survived something that a lot of people don't survive, and I had to do really bad things to survive, and that's why I wasn't around. Um, but they're proud, so I think that's really all that matters. Um, and it's a cautionary tale that they're constantly aware of, because they know that the addiction is what ruined my life, but it is also still my life every day because of how I help others. What was the hardest part about rebuilding trust with the people who loved you? My family is very forgiving. They don't see like especially like my parents, they don't see monetary things with me anyway. Cause hella I cost them a lot of fucking money, bro. I still do to this day, bitch. Sorry. They don't like, I stole my dad's jewelry, and they don't seem to care. They know it was me. One day I'll have to admit it and have a talk with them about it, but they know it was me. They joke about it, kind of, make passive aggressive little snide remarks because they know I did it, but they don't see like, so they don't they family's family to my family. Family's family on my dad's side. My dad and my mom are very like, we can get over and through anything. I don't think it, like, if there ever would have been a point where contact was going to be cut off, it would have been while I was sick. And even when I was sick, if I showed up, they would let me come in, you know? How did it feel when your family started to see the new you instead of the old version? There is always, my mom especially has like PTSD, right? And she's constantly worried. I don't think my mom will ever get over that it's done. I think my mom will always be waiting for that other shoe to fall because she has trauma, and she goes on cruises instead of getting therapy, which is an amazing way to deal with it. Like, have at her. Be in the Pacific Ocean, girly, you know? Um, but she still gets triggered. She gets using dreams. I don't have using dreams. She'll text me sometimes and say, "Oh my God, horrible nightmare. I felt dreamt you were using." And I was like, go get therapy, because damn, girl, I don't even have using dreams anymore. But it is what it is. She don't bug me when she's out on the cruise, so win-win. Um okay. What boundaries did you have to set that your family struggled to accept? Oh, like, I don't let you like question my recovery, bitch. I don't give a fuck if you don't believe me. Like, I don't care if you still get worried. I have nothing to prove to you anymore because I got better, bitch. Sorry. And if you don't believe it's true, I don't want to fucking hear about it. And I don't ever want you to ask because fuck you. And I've kind of had to put my parents in their place a couple times where, like, so my grandma died. Okay. My grandma died. I was up all fucking night the night before. We planned to go for lunch, me and my aunt and my dad, and like organize whatever, talk about the funeral or whatever we were doing. And I didn't show up because I slept all fucking day. I kept my kids home and I went to sleep because my grandma died and I went to bed. Ugh, sorry, I still do that. I still do that. I'll sleep all motherfucking day if I have to because I'm back coming back from war, bro. 20 years of that shit. I'm tired. Sometimes in order for me to get up every day and be a productive member of society, Saturday, bitch, I'm sleeping until 2 in the afternoon. I don't care. Ari is 12. She knows how to make dinner and fucking cook shit. She can thrive one day of the week, bitch. Shut up. You know? No. You want me to be a normal human, like a normal 40-year-old? I just came back from Nam. Let me sleep on Saturdays, please. So, anyways, I digress. What was I saying? Yeah, I slept the next day and I didn't show up for lunch. And my dad called me a bunch of times. And he asked me, are you fucking using or did you use or something like that? And this was like, so I got my place in March. My grandma died the next year or something. I don't even know. I was already out living with my kids. They had already given me my fucking 2 kids back. So and my mom was on a trip when my grandma died. And my dad said something like that to me. And that was the one and only time my dad has ever questioned my recovery. Because I set boundaries. Don't you ever fucking. One time, of course, my mom's sister, grippy sock vacation, must needed kind of thing, right? She's mad at me. She don't talk to me. She's my godmother. Never not talked to me in all the days of my 40 years. Never did this to me one time. She's mad at me. So she won't talk to me. Bitch won't even fart in my fucking direction. Okay. She ignores me, won't even look at me, bud. She's my mom's sister. She was my home girl. That was my other mother. And now she won't fucking talk to me. Bro, wait till my grandma passes. Because we're going to have a little fucking chit chat, amigo. Sick. She's not well. I don't fucking care. This is not okay. Anyways, I digress again. My mom, my aunt, my grandma, something happened. My mom was selling a house, wanted me to clean it, but wanted me to pay me to go there so she could fucking boss me around. I said, bitch, that's not how I do my job. People pay me to clean their house and they sit the fuck down and read a book while I do it or they fucking go. You're not telling me what to do, mom. Sorry, Doris. You know? No. So I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the job. Fuck you, man. I don't need the money that bad. So she was mad at me. I go clean at my uncle's. My uncle goes, so I heard you dipped out on a job. Blah, blah, blah. They're worried about you. I said, who the fuck is they? They're, they're having a little fucking tea party talking about me? What do you mean, who's they? Oh, my grandma and my mom and her sister. Okay, so I was choked. I was not happy. Don't ever. You want to fucking tell me you're worried about me? Say it to my motherfucking face to shut your fucking mouth type thing. You know? That was the last time. Because I heard it came. Anyways, I don't fuck around with that shit. You want to question my recovery but not celebrate it? Not happening. Pookadooks. Nope, 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 nope. Stop worrying that I'm gonna relapse tomorrow. I would have relapsed by now, bro. We're good. We're good over here. Okay, trust me. That's the boundary that I cannot fuck with. Don't you let it slip out of your lips, man. You'll fucking. It's ignorant. Ignorant. How do you handle family members who expect you to go back to who you were? That's how I deal with them. I tell them one fucking time, don't ever question my recovery. You might as well punch me in my fucking face. That's gross. No, that's how I deal with it. Is there a family pattern or cycle you were determined not to repeat with your own kids? Yes. I talk to my children about the dangers of drugs. I've shown them how to use Narcan. I would hope. And once they go into high school and stuff, we will be having regular little drills, Narcan drills, because I would rather my grade 9 student teenager go into a house party, know how to Narcan a kid, than watch her peer die. Sorry, Pooks. I talk to my kids. My parents never talked to us about shit. Never talked to us about nada. And they weren't there. They were at camp. They left us, which is whatever. We know better. We do better. There's no handbook on how to raise teenagers. Well, there probably is, but I don't think my parents read them. It was the 90s, bro. We were latchkey kids. Early 2000s. I graduated high school by 2004, bro. I'm old. So it was a different time. I don't blame nobody, bro. I'm the one that fucking did the drugs. Oh, is there one moment with family in recovery that still makes you emotional when you think about it? My aunt's speech at my recovery party, walking in and seeing everybody there that was friends from my lake and brook, and yeah, that was beautiful. And I'm very still grateful to this day to my friends that did it, the people that did it. It was beautiful. Forever grateful. That was probably, yeah. Next. Sorry. What was the moment you realized you were becoming the parent you always hoped you could be? Oh, being able to like navigate things with Emily's other parents. That has been I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of how her aunt and I are able to coexist. I think it's beautiful, and it's rare, and I never thought it would happen, but I have a lot of respect for Angela, and I'm grateful for what she did to my daughter, and I try to act accordingly. My baby didn't go to foster care, but I still get to be your mom today. It was nice of her to do that for me. Still allow me to be your mom. It's very rare in these situations. What does safety feel like for you today? This, my home, my ability to leave in my car, my bank account that always has money in it. That's safety. And to be single and never have to worry about another abusive man as long as I fucking exist. That is safety, and being happy while being single, which is something I could never since I was a child, bro. I didn't know who the fuck I was without a man. Today, you couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me. I had my little thing there back in August where I went a little buck wild and had a man or two, but that was that. School came back around and I was done skis. But August, yeah, that was a fun month. What have your kids taught you about forgiveness? Well, they never not wanted to see me, right? They knew I was sick. They still wanted to see me. They still wanted me around. Um, Even Cadence. Cadence told me the other day, so we know somebody who she's using in front of her kid, and child protection just closed their file. There's no reason. Nobody's calling child protection. But we know it's going on, right? And something happened the other day, and I was just like, fuck, man. Like, it's just fucked up. It's a sad fucking shame. And I said to Cadence, like, I'm sorry. And she was like, you were never like that, Mom. She's like, you would fall asleep on the couch, but you were never fucked up, like falling and hurting yourself. Like, we never saw you like that. So I was like, well, that made me feel a bit better. So yeah, kids are resilient, and all kids want their real parents, all kids want, well, at least mine do. What does family mean to you now compared to 5 or 10 years ago? Oh, my family were somebody that were in the way of me seeing my children because I was an addict. They protected my kids, and in my perspective back then, they were pieces of shit that kept me from my babies. Right? Right. Um so that's different today. I have gratitude for all the things that had to be done in order to protect my children. Long durations of no contact, because the inconsistency is more damaging than me not being around at all. And I agree. Right? So I see it differently in that regard.